Deep Impact 1998 is the quieter of the two comet movies that stormed theaters that summer. A slow, serious story about the end of the world. But the version you saw was almost a very different film. Did you know 45 minutes were cut from this movie and have never been released to this day? Or that the original ending openly insulted the rival movie Armageddon, until one test screening forced a last-minute cut. Today, we're uncovering 12 hidden truths about Deep Impact 1998, including how a made-up term from this film sparked a doomsday conspiracy that spread to millions online. Number 1. The original ending that was cut. The film ends with President Tom Beck, played by Morgan Freeman, standing before a huge crowd at the site of a new Capitol building, delivering a speech about how humanity will rebuild after the comet strike. However, this Capitol scene did not appear in the early screenplay. In that version, the story ended with Leo, Sarah, and the baby watching fragments of the destroyed comet burn through the atmosphere, without showing how the country would recover afterward. To provide a more complete and hopeful ending, the filmmakers added a new epilogue featuring Beck speaking in front of a replacement Capitol building under construction after Washington had been devastated by the tsunami. By promising that cities would be rebuilt and that the victims would be remembered, the scene gave the film a more uplifting conclusion focused on recovery rather than ending solely with destruction and grief. There were also major changes related to Beck's final closing speech. In the theatrical version, Beck's closing speech was, "Cities fall, but they are rebuilt, and heroes die, but they are remembered. So now, let us begin." However, in the early shooting script, his original closing words were, "But I promise you, life will go on. We shall prevail. There will be no Armageddon." This final line was a direct jab at the rival comet movie Armageddon, which opened in the same summer. When the film was shown to test audiences, the line did not land as intended. Instead of feeling triumphant, viewers laughed out loud, so the filmmakers decided to remove the Armageddon reference entirely. This change ultimately helped the film deliver a more sincere and emotionally resonant ending. Number 2. The comet that sparked real panic. In the film, scientists give the incoming comet a chilling classification. An ELE, short for extinction-level event, meaning an impact big enough to wipe out life on Earth. That three-letter term stuck in a lot of viewers' minds. Then, years later, reality handed conspiracy theorists something to grab onto. In December 2010, an amateur astronomer named Leonid Elenin discovered a comet. Astronomers recorded it under the official catalog code C2010X1, while it became widely known as Comet Elenin after its discoverer. Some online conspiracy writers noticed that the first three letters of his surname spelled ELE and connected it to the term used in Deep Impact. Some conspiracy theorists claimed that alignments involving Elenin had triggered major earthquakes, including the 2010 Chile earthquake and the 2011 earthquake in Japan. Others insisted that Elenin was not really a comet at all, but a cover for the supposed rogue planet Nibiru, or Planet X, and accused NASA of hiding its true identity and size. In reality, the comet was small and harmless. NASA scientist Don Yeomans described it as a wimpy comet, and NASA calculated that even at its closest approach, its gravitational influence on Earth would be immeasurably small. It eventually disintegrated as it approached the Sun, leaving no surviving nucleus. But for a while, genuine doomsday rumors spread across the internet, using language closely associated with a 13-year-old disaster movie. So what do you think? Did Deep Impact cause the panic, or just give it a name? Number 3. The Twin Towers scene that haunted viewers. The film's most spectacular sequence is a comet fragment crashing into the ocean and sending a gigantic tidal wave surging over New York City. In the original 1998 footage, that wall of water tears through the skyline, and the World Trade Center's Twin Towers stand right there in the shot. At the time, it was just a standard disaster spectacle. Hollywood loved destroying famous landmarks. Then September 11th, 2001 happened, and the real Twin Towers came down. Suddenly, footage of those same buildings, threatened in a movie, felt deeply uncomfortable to a lot of viewers, even though the film's version was a natural disaster, a wave, and not an attack. Some television broadcasts reportedly edited the film to remove the buildings, while the home video release kept the original footage intact. And because a pre-9/11 film had shown those towers threatened on screen, it later got pulled into online predictive programming theories, the belief that movies secretly foreshadow real tragedies. In other words, the special effect itself never changed. But after 9/11, viewers could no longer see the Twin Towers in danger as harmless fantasy because the real tragedy had given the image an entirely different emotional meaning. Number 4. NASA and Hollywood choose the same name. Deep Impact arrived in 1998 with a plot built around a spacecraft flying out to a comet and planting nuclear bombs to break it apart before it could hit Earth. It was pure science fiction, or at least it was, for about 7 years. In 2005, NASA built and launched a real space probe designed to study what a comet is actually made of. They send a washing machine-sized 372-kilogram impactor made partly of copper directly into Tempel 1, the comet chosen as the mission's target. The impact would carve a crater and throw ice and dust from beneath the surface into space, revealing material that had previously been hidden inside the comet. The flyby spacecraft would then photograph this debris and use an infrared spectrometer to analyze the light coming from it, helping scientists identify the materials inside the comet. The team needed a name for the mission, and they called it Deep Impact, openly borrowing the title of the 1998 movie about a comet threatening Earth. And on July 4, 2005, the impactor struck Tempel 1 exactly as planned. So this Hollywood disaster film did not actually give NASA its name. Instead, Hollywood and a real space mission independently arrived at the same perfect title for two remarkably similar encounters with a comet. Number 5. The 45 Minutes You Never Saw. Director Mimi Leder, who had just finished directing the thriller The Peacemaker, first assembled Deep Impact as a much longer film. Her early cut reportedly ran around 165 minutes, close to 3 hours. But a disaster drama approaching 3 hours was difficult to market as a mainstream theatrical release, since its length risked exhausting viewers and made it harder for cinemas to schedule multiple screenings. When the longer version was shown to test audiences, viewers felt that parts of the emotional final act continued for too long, causing the story to lose momentum. Roughly 45 minutes were eventually removed, including many additional scenes and lines involving Leo and Sarah's relationship. The shooting script contains a longer scene on a hill, where Leo asks Sarah to marry him. Sarah reminds him that they are still children, and Leo insists that marriage may be their only chance to survive together. The lottery sequence was also more extensive, showing families across the country waiting beside their telephones, some receiving calls confirming their selection, while others slowly realized that no call was coming. The result is the tighter 121-minute film we know today. On the DVD commentary, Leder said the cuts were her own decisions, some influenced by test screening reactions and others based on her personal judgment, and she believes the shorter theatrical version plays better than the longer cut. The deleted footage has never been released as a complete collection. Only a few brief clips survive inside a making-of featurette, which means that most of the slower, sadder version of Deep Impact is now unavailable. Number 6. The Consultant Who Died Like His Character. Deep Impact opens with an astronomer, Dr. Marcus Wolf, identifying the deadly comet and then dying in a car crash while racing to warn the world about it. It's a dramatic, tragic way to launch the story. What makes it genuinely eerie is what was happening behind the scenes at the exact same time. One of the film's real science consultants was Eugene Shoemaker, a legendary comet scientist and one of the co-discoverers of Shoemaker-Levy 9, the comet that famously struck Jupiter in 1994. As one of the film's scientific advisors, Shoemaker brought genuine expertise in comets and planetary impacts to the production, helping ground its fictional disaster in real astronomy. Then, during production, tragedy struck for real. On the 18th of July 1997, Shoemaker was killed in a head-on car crash on a dirt road in the Australian outback. A real astronomer who had discovered a comet, dying in a car accident, the very same fate the film had already written for its fictional comet-discovering astronomer. Number 7. Congress acted the same year. Deep Impact and its rival Armageddon both hit screens in 1998, filling theaters with the idea of a giant object on a collision course with Earth. It felt like far-fetched summer entertainment. But that same year, something very real was quietly happening in Washington. The threat was not purely fictional. Just 4 years earlier, in 1994, astronomers around the world had watched fragments of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 smash into Jupiter, providing dramatic proof that enormous cosmic collisions really do happen. Scientists took the warning seriously, and as it turned out, so did lawmakers. In 1998, the same year both comet movies came out, the U.S. Congress directed NASA to find and track at least 90% of all near-Earth objects with a diameter of more than 1 kilometer. An object that large could cause global devastation if it struck Earth. So while audiences were watching fictional astronauts race to save the planet, their real government was establishing an actual asteroid hunting program. Number 8. The cruelest choice in the film. Beneath all the special effects, Deep Impact asks a genuinely disturbing question. If you could only save some people, how on earth would you choose? In the film, the U.S. government builds underground shelters big enough for around 800,000 Americans, then holds a lottery to fill them. But there's a brutal catch written into the rules. Anyone over the age of 50 is automatically disqualified, no matter who they are or what they've done. And the film refuses to flinch from how cruel that is. It's this exact rule that condemns Jenny's mother, Robin, and drives her to take her own life once she realizes she's simply too old to be saved. The movie forces the audience to sit with the raw human cost of that cold calculation. Critics have singled this out as the film's most mature and thoughtful element, a real exploration of what experts call survival triage, the impossible ethics of deciding who lives when not everyone possibly can. It's something the explosion-filled Armageddon never even attempts. And that willingness to stare straight at an ugly moral question without offering any easy answer is a big part of why Deep Impact still lingers with people long after the comet has hit. Number 9. The secret bunkers are real. Deep in the film, President Beck reveals a grim secret to the public. The world's governments have quietly been building enormous underground shelters carved into limestone caves, and they've run a lottery to decide which ordinary citizens get a spot inside. It plays like pure disaster movie invention, a government hiding an ark from its own people. Except the real world has its own version of exactly that. For decades, the US government ran secret programs known as continuity of government, building hidden bunkers meant to keep officials alive through a nuclear war or another catastrophe. And these were not internet rumors. Raven Rock was built as an underground backup command center for Pentagon leadership, while Mount Weather was designed to shelter key civilian officials and keep the executive branch operating during a nuclear attack or another national catastrophe. Congress even had a secret bunker built beneath a luxury West Virginia resort, hidden for decades right under a working hotel. The most famous book about these plans is Garrett M. Graff's Raven Rock, the story of the U.S. government's secret plan to save itself, while the rest of us die. Deep Impact took that real, unsettling slice of Cold War history and simply pointed a camera at it. What do you think? If a real extinction-level threat were coming, would a government actually tell the public the truth, or quietly vanish into a bunker like the one in this film? Number 10. The real space program hidden in it. In the film, the crew first boards Atlantis and rides the shuttle from Earth into orbit, a path high above the planet where spacecraft travel around Earth. Once there, they leave Atlantis and transfer to the much larger Messiah, which is waiting in orbit to carry them toward the comet. The Messiah is powered by an engine called Orion, a nuclear propulsion system that uses energy from nuclear reactions to push a spacecraft through space. To viewers in 1998, that name probably sounded like ordinary movie set dressing, but Atlantis was not invented for the film. It was a real NASA space shuttle, one of the actual orbiters flying missions at the time. And the engine Orion is another real-world nod hidden in plain sight. Back in the 1950s and 60s, scientists seriously studied a concept called Project Orion, a spacecraft that would be driven forward by detonating nuclear bombs behind it. It was never actually built, but the idea was genuine engineering, not fantasy. So the film quietly borrowed two real names, one from NASA's shuttle fleet and one from a scrapped nuclear rocket program, grounding its fiction in actual spaceflight history. Number 11. Two dead movies became one. By the mid-1990s, Deep Impact did not exist yet, but two separate space disaster projects were already moving through Hollywood. The first project had begun in the late 1970s, when producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown approached Paramount with the idea of making a modern remake of the 1951 film When Worlds Collide. That film follows a rogue star heading toward Earth and the construction of a space ark whose limited passengers are partly selected through a lottery. Several scripts for the proposed remake were written, but Zanuck and Brown were unhappy with them, leaving the project trapped in development for years. The second project belonged to Steven Spielberg, who had acquired the screen rights to Arthur C. Clarke's 1993 novel, The Hammer of God, about a mission to divert an Earth-bound asteroid using fusion-powered thrusters. When Zanuck and Brown approached Spielberg about their long-delayed remake in the mid-1990s, they discovered that he was already developing a different film built around a very similar cosmic threat. Instead of continuing separately with two movies about humanity preparing for an approaching object from space, Spielberg, Zanuck, and Brown combined their projects and commissioned the screenplay that became Deep Impact. The finished film reflects ideas found in both earlier stories. A space mission attempts to divert or destroy the comet, while an underground shelter preserves a limited group of survivors if that mission fails. Number 12. The $3 million Panic Move. That same summer of 1998, a second space disaster movie was barreling toward theaters, Armageddon, made by Disney. All explosions and action, where Deep Impact was slow and serious. The two studios were locked in a race, each one terrified the other would steal its audience. Deep Impact came out first, in May, and its surprise success increased the pressure on Disney to make its own film look more spectacular. They wanted Armageddon to feel bigger, louder, and more overwhelming. So Disney Studio Chairman Joe Roth handed Armageddon more than $3 million late in production for additional explosions and special effects sequences, including the destruction of Paris, Shanghai, and New York's Grand Central Terminal. Roth approved the extra money in early May, leaving the production team less than 2 months to create and finish the new footage before the film opened on July 1. The new images were designed partly to supply fresh material for the final 2 weeks of the television advertising campaign and help Armageddon stand apart from Deep Impact. It is a rare, revealing glimpse of how far a studio will go and how much cash it will throw at the screen just to win a head-to-head grudge match at the summer box office. In the end, Deep Impact was never really about the comet. It was about what people do with the time they have left and who they choose to spend it with. So ask yourself this: if the world had weeks left, would you run for a bunker or stay and hold the people you love? Tell me in the comments, I actually want to know. And if this story pulled you back into the film, hit like and subscribe so the next one finds you.